Senator Gerba, followed by Senator Harder. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Minister. Your role is at the forefront of the government's efforts to diversify Canadian exports. Your mandate letter mentions that you will develop a strategy for economic development with Africa by supporting the free trade continental area for the free trade area in Africa, which would allow access to 1.3 billion consumers and which gives access to a market of over $3 billion. This week, the American representative, Catherine Tai, the trade representative, said Monday that her agency was getting ready to sign an agreement protocol with the free trade area, the continental free trade area, for the next phases of American-African free trade. And so I have a two-aspect question. The first is, as Minister of International Trade, in what way will your department within Global Affairs Canada and your services, how will they work to help bring Africa and Canada closer economically? And my second question is, are you considering a signature, like the U.S. is doing, signing an eventual free trade agreement with the African continental free trade area?
Thank you for that. The dynamic opportunity in Africa is a very exciting one. I remember just right before the pandemic, I joined the Prime Minister on a trip to Africa. We had where he was meeting with the African Union, and just preceding that trip, I tagged on with a trade mission to Kenya and then to Ethiopia, and also made a trip into South Africa because of the significant Mining Indaba conference and how important that is to Canadian industries. And while there, developed some of the sort of business to business relationships through the Africa-Canada Chamber of Commerce to be able to connect those who do business very directly. And while there, we decided that we would, in advance of that, and while there, decided we work on something that we both thought would be quite complementary to Canada and Africa, and that is, around fighting climate change. So Canada was very much a partner and participant in the Blue Conference that took place in Kenya. We have had a couple of clean technology summits where we brought in and sort of, and worked to curate those entrepreneurs and businesses, both in Africa as well as in Canada, to look at how we can collaborate in the very areas of, of green agriculture or green green renewable energy and so forth. So I would say we are doing work. We are doing the work by enabling businesses to do that. At the same time, the development to trade nexus can probably be expressed best through Canada's work in the capacity building, working with Africa in what eventually became the Africa, the African, free trade, arrangement, among, among the African Union. So we absolutely have aspirations to deepen our relationship with Africa, our trade relationship, to build on the historical relationship between Canada and Africa. That work is something quite exciting to do. We've been in conversations with a couple of the countries very specifically on FIPAs, and the work towards something more deep is certainly underway. Would be the best way I would say.